Welcome, everyone, with the Ambassador and Greg Roth. This is yours truly, Eric Laser, and this is your Sharp Squares podcast for Week 7 of the 2025-26 season. And if you've been paying attention, you may have noticed our Sharps are slowly but surely coming to life. Even though they were only 50% again last week, 29-29, that's the second week in a row, 50%. Our metal games prospered again, going 2-0, pick 5 for the third consecutive week. We went 3-0, earning 6 of 6 points. What does that mean for the season? Well, our Sharps are still below 500, 48.3%. It's a crawl back up the mountain here. Metal games, same thing, 14 and 16 or 46.7%. Pick 5, 13 and 17, 43.3%. But for 3-2-1, and I'm going to talk about 3-2-1 in a moment, we are 10 and 8. We've earned 21 of 36 points or 58.3%, and we're becoming a factor in that large and fairly high stakes.
Watch out.
Watch out. Now, a couple things, guys, and I was talking to some of you who listen or are on Discord. Our 3-2-1 lines are actually a day later in the week than the pick 5. So they're the more accurate lines as we record on Fridays. And incidentally, Greg is tailgating as we speak at the Miami Hurricanes game in the parking lot right now. And he's still here and he will still be doing
Go
Canes. So we are going to start using the 3-2-1 lines. They're going to be more accurate. It doesn't really affect you, but it'll affect the metal games. We're going to be focusing on those, the more accurate lines or the less expired lines. And so I think you guys will get more value out of it. We tend to do better on those lines anyway, using the Sharps and the algorithm that we use. So that is an exciting introduction to Week 7's gold, silver, bronze. And to deliver that information, whatever foreign substances are currently in his body, walking around the parking lot in Miami, is everyone's favorite fellow degenerate, the Greg Roth.
Eric, thank you so much. Ambassador, great to see you as well from Hard Rock Stadium, live from Hard Rock Stadium. Always wanted to say that. Almost a 4-week, maybe 3-week winning streak. Can we go for 4? As far as the foreign substances in my body, we could do maybe a Twitter poll on that, and I can confirm that after the case. But let me tell you that we have only two metal games for the second week in a row, quality over quantity. None of those 2 games are gold. They are both silver. There's no bronze games. The top rated game, it's silver. The pick is the Los Angeles Chargers. They're -1.5. They're hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Adam Chernoff, Cleve TA, Marco D'Angelo, Stuckey, Jeff Schwartz all picked the Chargers. None of the Sharps like the Colts. The second metal game, the pick, I think for the third week in a row. I know Eric doesn't like it when I guess. I think we've been on this team for the third week in a row. Last week they did cover for us. It's the New Orleans Saints. They're +5.5. They're in Chicago to take on the Bears. Cleve TA, Ross Tucker, Gianni the Greek, Sharper Square Podcast, Adam Chernoff and Chris Raybon all took New Orleans. The Whale Capper in Descent took the Bears. So you have 2 metal games. The Chargers -1.5. The Saints +5.5 are both silver. There's no gold or bronze games. So for the second week in a row, we have some work to do for our pick 5. We have been consistent, I think, forever, just taking the next highest rated games in the system, even if they're not metal games. So let me give them to you. The third highest rated game, not a metal game. Of course, using the 3-2 lines, as Eric alluded to. The pick is the New York Giants +7.5 in Denver. They take on the Broncos. Ross Tucker, Chris Raybon, Will Capper, and RJ Bell have taken the Giants. Cleve TA and Adam Chernoff in Descent took the Broncos. The fourth highest rated game, also not metal, is the Cleveland Browns. They're -2.5 in Miami. No, in Cleveland to take on the Dolphins. Adam Chernoff and Stuckey took Cleveland. Nobody took the Dolphins. The 5th highest rated game, also not metal. The picks the Detroit Lions. They're minus 5.5 at home versus Tampa Bay. Steve Fezzik, Gianni the Greek, Adam Chernoff, and Cleve TA all took Detroit. Ross Tucker and Rob Pizzola and Descent took Tampa Bay. So to summarize, you have the Chargers and Saints are medal games, silver medal games. They are 2 of our pick 5 picks. Chargers minus 1.5, Saints at plus 5.5. And the next highest rated games, the Giants plus 7.5, Browns minus 2.5, Lions minus 5.5. That's our pick 5. 3, 2, 1. Since we're using those lines, we don't need to make any adjustments. It's the Chargers 3, Saints 2, Browns 1. There you have it, guys.
Good stuff. We do a couple things. First of all, I think Cleveland is coming to Miami, so just to be clear there.
Well, I'll make sure they take care of the field tonight after the Canes game.
And our third, there is a little bit of a flip-flop on 3-2. The Browns are our 3rd highest rated game. And pick 5, it's technically not. Lions and the Giants, the only medal game, because both said 2nd week in a row, 2 silver games. So that is those are the details. If you want to get some handicapping highlights, if you want the trends, you could stick around. Otherwise, like Greg, you are all now dismissed. All right. First of all, first segment, I know the internet was a little bit unstable there. We just made some adjustments. Also, I'm going to correct myself, or to correct the notes that I'm reading off of. The Browns are actually hosting the Dolphins. They're not coming to Miami, so Greg does not have to get that field ready. All right, let's get some trends going. We're going to start with EB. I'll jump in and we'll take you through handicapping highlights of the 2 silver games. Take it away, Mr. Ambassador.
All right, thank you very much, Eric. Our first trend has to do with night dogs. NFL underdogs are now 12-9-1 straight up and 15-7 ATS in night games this season. That's the first time through 6 games dogs are over 500 straight up in prime time since 2002. That's courtesy Evan Abrams at Evan H. Abrams. Next, we've got a trend and a half, I'd say, for the Kansas City Chiefs. First, since 2020, when Patrick Mahomes has been a favorite of above a touchdown, that's 7.5 points or more, Patrick Mahomes is 36-2 straight up, but just 13-24-1 ATS. That's 34%. Mahomes' 2 straight up losses as an above a touchdown favorite since 2020 have both come against the Raiders. Believe it or not, he is 30-0 straight up in this spot versus all other teams. Also, since 2022, Mahomes is 4-12-1 against the spread versus his own division. All that comes courtesy of ActionNetwork.com. And of course, it applies to Sunday's game, the Raiders at the Kansas City Chiefs, where the Chiefs are favored by 12. And then finally, the half a trend I mentioned, the Kansas City Chiefs are 0-14 against the spread versus the AFC following a game in which they scored more than 27 points. Do with that what you will. And that is from at SDQL Guru, whatever that is.
On X, right?
On X. Yes.
The aforementioned Browns, who are hosting the Miami Dolphins. The Browns as favorites. Since 2024, they've been favorites just 5 times. And they are 0-5 straight up in those games. They haven't scored 18 points or more in 11 consecutive games. And that's the 5th longest streak for any team since 1990. Compliments of the Action Network. And referee, aka officials, and the edges that they provide if you want to get involved in some totals here. Brad Rogers games are 41-25 to the over, or 62%. That is the Panthers versus the Jets. Grab it now. Sean Hockley's games with a total below 45, David, are 41-16 to the under. That's 72%. And again, that is the aforementioned Browns versus Dolphins in Cleveland. And finally, Ron Torbert. He leans to road teams. Ron's roadies are 83-58 or 59% when he's the head referee. That is the Falcons versus the 49ers, and those trends are compliments of Lock and Cash.
Okay, time now for our first silver game handicapping highlight. The Colts overperformance and regression and an injury fade leads to the Sharps liking the Chargers in this particular matchup. Multiple Sharps frame the Colts 5-1 start as inflated by opponent quality and or lack thereof, and fortunate high leverage outcomes. For example, fourth downs, fumbles, field goal variance. Expect regression. The Sharps do against a step up in class Chargers team. They take advantage of the market, giving a short number, -1.5, to a better on paper roster at home, which is the Chargers. And also, Indy's secondary will likely be down, quote, key corners, unquote, creating a passing game mismatch for Justin Herbert to take advantage of. And other matchup edges go to the Chargers. Again, Herbert going up against that depleted cornerback room, I should say. And the offensive line health trending up gives the LA Chargers access to deeper concepts on offense. The Chargers' Derwin James is a tight end eraser who could neutralize Indy's middle of the field attack and red zone options. And the Chargers' defensive physicality versus an Indy defense that allows yards and points despite middling efficiency metrics is another advantage for the LA team. Some market/number and situational reads. The short spread -1.5 is viewed as value relative to a fair price. This is a bounce back home spot for the Chargers. And the Colts' schedule strength, or again, lack thereof, and recent luck was flagged by many Sharps. The Chargers' red zone touchdown percentage due for an upward correction, so say the Sharps, from a depressed 35%. And finally, some notable dissent. Fezzik from the Dream Preview prefers the Colts. Well, he likes the Colts first half plus half a point. Steichen's scripted starts plus the Chargers' poor first half defensive EPA leads to this conclusion. And cluster offensive line issues for the Chargers and likely first possession to Indy if the Chargers defer, again points to Fezzik's choice. Timestamps: Action Network 1956, beating the book 23 minutes exactly, and GM Shuffle 47 minutes and 45 seconds. And Dream Preview 1 hour and 15 minutes.
All right. Second game, also silver. Saints +5.5 at the Bears. I'm sick of taking the Saints, but I guess I should be grateful they covered last week. Here we go. Again, what our team's done is they've taken all the Sharps handicaps, put them into different categories where we saw sort of consensus around the handicapping type to make it easier for everyone to understand. First handicap on why we're taking the Saints: fade the Bears, market inflation, and they're due for an emotional letdown. Chicago's coming off an emotional Monday night football win, which could lead to a letdown. Several Sharps noted that the Bears' recent wins were aided by opponents' mistakes and unsustainable Bears efficiency. Market pricing has inflated Chicago to -5 or 5.5, despite limited offensive consistency. Second category, why you want to take the Saints. They're a live underdog with a defensive and situational edge. The Saints defense is viewed as capable of containing Chicago's limited passing attack. They also enter the game better rested, better prepared situationally compared to the Bears, who are coming off a short week. And multiple Sharps frame the play as value due to an undervalued Saints roster catching points. And the third and final reason you should be taking the Saints, at least according to our Sharps, is quarterback and coaching reliability on the New Orleans side. Saints quarterback Spencer Rattler's play has been highlighted as improving and stable relative to Chicago's volatility with Caleb Williams. The coaching edge was referenced in the matchup breakdown, favoring New Orleans in scripted drives. Not sure this layman agrees with that. And the general consensus is that the Saints avoid mistakes that plagued the Bears' opponents, allowing Chicago to boost their recent results. Timestamps: even money, 20 minutes, 55 seconds. Action Network, 13 minutes, 23 seconds. Sharp or Square, 13 minutes, 2 seconds. Beating the Book is 43 minutes, 10 seconds. And Deep Dive, 44 minutes, 45 seconds. All right. There you have it. 2 more silver games for the second consecutive week. Good job, Ambassador. Good job, Mr. Roth. And a reminder, none of us are truly sharp. But this is your Sharp Squares podcast.
Good luck out there.